Hey guys, IceWire here, and welcome to another episode of Tism Talk. This is my once a month autism series where I talk about what it's like for me being a gal on the spectrum and just some autistic stuff in general. If you're new here, welcome, and I hope you enjoy what you're about to watch because today I have an interesting topic to chat with you guys about. If you've been around long enough to know what kind of content I do, you know I love video games. I mean, if you just take a quick glance at my channel, you can clearly see that I like my games. They're my bread and butter. I grew up playing them. In fact, one of my earliest memories I can muster is waking up and walking from my bedroom to my living room of my childhood home to go and play a Lion King video game. I was a huge Lion King fan back in the day. You know, Hakuna Matata, my dudes. And loving video games so much has had a big impact on my life in a few significant ways, even more so as I've grown older. So what I want to tell you about today is how video games have actually, and bear with me on this, helped me get better at socializing with people. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Video games in itself are a really interesting form of art. They are art in their own way. It's a unique form of media that you can tell a story on that's separate from a book or a movie or even a TV show. And what makes video games so unique is for some particular games you can actually make choices yourself that will impact the story, and you find this a lot in RPGs, and that is primarily what I'm going to be focusing on today. Now, the beauty of RPGs is, of course, choice. You get to make your own decisions in the game, and depending on what you pick, things will either go well or not so much for you. One aspect of player choice is, of course, dialogue, and simply picking what you say in conversation, whether it be, you know, making an important decision on a mission or just having a conversation with a companion. You know, that can affect the outcome of your relationship with said character or the outcome of that mission. And in a way, the same can be said for real life. Now, how does any of this help with me getting better at talking to people? In the past, when I've played these kinds of video games, it actually makes me pause for a moment and consider what I'm about to say. Now, from a young age up until I was a teenager, I kind of didn't really think about what I said. It just kind of came out. And not that I still don't have issues with that, but at that time when I was, younger, like I'd say, like pretty much 17 and below, I was terrible with talking to people. I kind of just said whatever came to mind, and sometimes the things that I would say would be just a bit too blunt, because I've never held back in my thoughts and opinions on something. I've gotten better at the whole politeness thing and learning what to say and when to say it in situations, but back then, no, I was terrible, especially with high school in particular. And at that time, I was playing for Dragon Age 2 when I was in high school. And obviously in that game, if you're not familiar with it, there was a dialogue wheel, so you could choose the diplomatic approach to things, the witty approach to things, or the just full-on aggressive approach to things. And depending on, which one you picked, it would affect how, characters around you would react. Especially if it's your close companions and, you're trying to either build up a relationship with them or just try and get along, just for the mission's sake. And sometimes if you said the wrong things, even if it was a diplomatic approach, it could hurt the character. There would even be options that would forgo, like, the tone that you would come across with in these conversations, and you pick either this option or this option, no in between. I remember there were certain moments in that game where I actually had to sit down and consider what I had to say to this person to either, convince them to let me get by somewhere that was, locked away to my character, or what to say to calm them down if there was a character that was really riled up. And in a way, I kind of learned to apply that same logic to my day-to-day interactions. Now, obviously, you know, I didn't start playing Dragon Age 2 and then, like, next day, boom, like, I'm thinking diplomatically about what I'm about to say. But since I began to play, you know, games that had dialogue choice a lot, for example, I began playing Origins shortly after I finished 2. Yeah, I know, I played it in the wrong order. I know. Along with Mass Effect and Skyrim being another one, you know, you had options to pick for your dialogue, and depending on what you picked, it would affect the outcome of whatever situation you were in. And playing these games and having to really think about what option to choose, what was the best approach to this conversation, was, you know, it kind of ended up slowly seeping into my day-to-day conversations. For example, if I was having a serious conversation with a friend or a teacher, or, you know, someone that had a more authority than me, like, you know, obviously teachers, principals, or, you know, just anybody that you had to treat with respect on, like, an authoritarian level. I just noticed Muffin upside down. Oh my god, look at her. Oh, she is a potato. Oh, what a cute dog. So basically, if I was ever dealing with any of these kinds of people or having serious conversations with someone, like, I actually began to learn to take note of, you know, more so what I should and shouldn't say. Just be careful in, like, navigating your way through a conversation, because, you know, kids can be brutal, especially in high school. If you're dealing with high school kids, Jesus Christ. They're a brutal breed. So I guess in a way, with playing these kinds of video games and, you know, having to be careful of what dialogue options you pick and choose from, or just even having the ability to pick what dialogue options you had. And I think it was good, because I've never had the best social skills. I mean, now as an adult, while I still very, very much struggle a lot when it comes to social cues and whatnot, and, you know, reading faces and tones of voice and trying to decide, like, is this person angry or are they just, you know, neutral. I used to be very bad at it when I was a teenager. Like, I had never gone to a high school before. I was homeschooled for a long period of my lifetime, and I suddenly went from never interacting with anybody my age ever, only just my family, to being thrown into a school with like 300 plus students, and then having to learn how to, you know, conversate with them, because I've never known how to talk to somebody my age. And of course I was the geeky kid that, you know, liked video games, where everyone else liked drinking and rugby. They were the two things in my high school: partying and rugby, no in between. So I kind of had to learn and adapt to the environment around me, and, like, apply that thinking when it came to playing video games to the conversations that I would have, because it was such a hard time. I did not know how to talk to these people, because at that time it was such a culture shock. Like, I was not only learning how to talk to people my age, but also learning what everyone was into at the time, and having this, it was a culture shock. And I am not even sorry that I didn't know what the word scucks was. If you're not a New Zealander, it basically means cool. Like, something's cool. But because I was open and said, I don't know what that is, I had an entire class turn on me for a day and just, ooh, it was fun. So yeah, basically overall, just being able to play these video games and stuff have definitely helped me apply some more critical thinking to how I go about conversations now. To summarize this video, I will say that I feel very happy about the fact that I grew up playing video games, and, you know, I slowly, you know, decided to delve into the RPG side of gaming. You know, I took more of an interest in those games and stuff. And playing these games that have these dialogue options, that's something that I'd say definitely did help with, you know, me learning how to socialize in real life. Growing up, even as a kid, like, I've always mimicked what I saw on, you know, TV or in movies or whatever you will. And that could be just like certain mannerisms, or like even to the point where I would mimic the way a character would think about things. And in a strange, unusual way, that kind of helped out in regards to learning how to socialize. It's very unorthodox, but you know, if it works, it just works. Consider supporting me on Patreon, as it feels to go for my content's quality and the variety and production of said content that you guys get to see all here on the channel. And of course, as always, a huge thank you to my current patrons. They are Cosmoronic, Nicholas Montoya, Hasgirl, Cooladora, Kay, and Zapfinouch. And if you want to see your name shouted out at the end of the video like these guys, do hop over onto Patreon and have a look around at the cool rewards on offer. Or if you don't want to deal with the whole monthly subscription stuff, do consider checking out my Ko-Fi. If an easy, breezy, or one-stop donation is more your thing, do check that out. This is IceWire signing off, and I'll see you guys later next time on the channel. Have a lovely day / night wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!